Okay, let us start. Welcome, Ashmita. So there's a question from our student Shankar sir. Normally, how many marks practical is asked in exam? So the answer for this is around 60% is practical, 40% is theory, usually. So I'm coming to our workbook. In this workbook, question 2, there was one query in our different batch. So I just wanted to share with the same query with you. That in this question 2, engineering cost. If you will see the solution, I have taken it on the basis of number of production orders. So as many number of production orders are there, as many engineering services may be required to do the setup. We assume that engineers would be getting activated each time any production order is issued for producing any product. So company is already producing 3 types of products, so you cannot produce all 3 at a time, right? You will produce first few units of X, then few units of Y, then few units of Z. So every time machine needs to be set up. So for that engineers may be required to configure. So based on that, I have used number of production order. Alternatively, you can also use machine hours as basis for engineering cost. Alright, so you can use any of these two as basis. Of course, the result will alter if you are using machine hour. In our solution, it is all given on the basis of number of production orders. I'm coming to question 3. As I said that I will do this question with you. So this question is going to clarify how you have to solve a full-fledged question. This will actually clarify the full concept of activity-based costing. You can say one master question it is, whereby we will get to know all the intricacies of activity-based costing in one shot. So we'll solve this question. You can now start writing in your exercise copy. The exercise book number is the first copy which you have got. Exercise book number is 1, and then page number is there. Exercise book number is 1, then page number is there, and page number is your exercise book page number. You must maintain page numbering in your exercise copies. You must maintain a good index in your exercise copies. That helps you to revise a day before exam. So write your page number over here. Okay. Let us read. Housat company manufactures several products of varying levels or designs and models. It uses a single overhead recovery rate based on direct labor hours. The company's overhead in the first half of the year are as under. These are all company's overheads: machine operation, machine maintenance, salaries of technical staff, wages and salaries of store staff. These are your list of expenses. Don't consider these as your list of activities. These are your list of expenses. You remember my concept, initial concept, where I showed that a company typically has a long list of expenses which we categorize as material, labor and then overhead. So these are list of overhead items. It's clearly written company's overheads in the first half are. So if you want, you can take total of all the overheads. Please take the total and type answer. Tell me the answer. Please take the total and tell me the answer. Be quick. It's a live session, so make full use of it. Participate by calculating answers also. What is the total? What is the total? Total is coming 21 lakhs. Okay? All right. Yes, 21 lakhs. Now during this period, company introduced activity-based costing system and the following significant activities were identified. we have three activities: receiving materials and components, setup of machines, and quality inspection. So these are the activities. Activity details are given now. There are three activities here. It is also determined that machine operation and machine maintenance expense should be apportioned between stores and production activity in 20:80 ratio. This is something new in this question. You see, these are list of expenses. Either these go to departments in case of traditional costing. In case of activity based costing, these should be apportioned among the activities. So there are three activities, as you can see, 1, 2 and 3. So we got to apportion these cost into these three activities, and how to apportion, the ratio has been given. So they are saying machine operation and maintenance expenses should be apportioned between stores and production activity. Store activity means receiving. Receiving is a store activity, receiving material. It is an activity of stores. And production activity is setup. Setup activity is production activity. So you need to understand what is store, what is production. Next, technical staff salaries should be apportioned between this, about this they are talking, should be apportioned between machine maintenance, setup and quality inspection in 30-40-30 ratio. So what is the new thing here? See, it is being apportioned in setup and quality inspection is fine. 40 or 30 it's fine. But point is, it is being apportioned to machine maintenance. Now machine maintenance is which activity? There is no activity as such for machine maintenance. Don't consider it as again setup. Machine maintenance means here that this cost needs to be apportioned here first. Machine maintenance is another item of expense which is already given in the list. So you got to apportion this portion, sum of this portion over here. You got to apportion some of this portion here. Okay. So technical staff cost will be apportioned to machine maintenance, setup and quality inspection. So we already have activity for setup and quality inspection. So that's not a problem. So how you are going to deal with this? First, what you will do is, first you will apportion technical staff salary, which will go to three heads: machine maintenance, setup and quality inspection. So we have three activities here: receiving, setup and quality inspection. So it is going into setup and quality inspection. Technical staff is not going in receiving. A portion of this will go to machine maintenance. So machine maintenance expense is actually having two parts. One is this one and another is some portion from here. So the total of machine maintenance will then be taken. Along with this, operation expense will be added. So this two will be added, and then operation and maintenance expenses will be apportioned to stores and production activity in 20:80 ratio. You got it? So the trick here in the question is, you will do this allocation and apportionment first, and then you will do this one, not in the flow of the information given. First you will do allocation of technical staff because some portion of it is going to machine maintenance. So let us hold machine maintenance and operation expense for first apportionment. First let us clear out technical staff, then we will take up operation maintenance and this portion from technical staff going into machine maintenance, and then that will be apportioned in totality in 20:80 ratio. Alright. Next, the consumption of activities during the period under review is as under. Consumption of activities basically implies your cost drivers. So next, labor hours worked for the period is 40,000, wage rate is 6 rupees per hour, total production setup is 2040, material component consignment received from supplier is 1960, number of quality inspections carried out is 1280. Okay, number of quality inspections carried out is 1280. Got it? So these are going to be your cost drivers for the three activities that question has already chosen. For receiving, it is very obvious that it will be material and component consignment received. For setup activity, it will be production setup. For quality inspection, it will be number of quality inspections. And why labor hour is given? Probably that must be the traditional system. The data relating to two products manufactured by the company during the period are as under. Usually we apply activity based costing whenever we have multiple products. So we have two products, for that we are having details here. Material cost is given, labor hours are given, so wage rate is not given, so wage rate will be assumed as same 6 rupees per hour. Then Material consignment received, production run and quality inspections, these will be used for allocating activity cost. Quantity produced is also given. A potential customer has approached the company for supply of 24,000 units of component K to be delivered in lots of 3,000 units per quarter. So it is basically, you can say 24,000 by 3,000 is equal to 8 quarters is equal to 2 years job. 8 quarters means 2 years job. A new quotation has to be given probably. The job will involve an initial design cost of rupees 60,000. So this cost needs to be considered in its cost, and manufacture will involve the following per quarter. See, it is an initial design cost, so it is one time cost, must be applicable to all 24,000 units. Okay, for 24,000 units it is a one time design cost, but these details are given per quarter. Per quarter means that is, these details are for 3,000 units. We have material costs, labor hours, production runs, inspections and number of consignments of direct material received. So we have company desires a markup of 25% on cost, so we can add that in cost, not a problem. So what does the question wants from us? First is calculate the cost of product P and Q based on existing system. Existing system is what? What is existing system? Existing system was, in the first line it was written that it uses a single overhead recovery rate based on direct labor hours. Single means only one department. That's why this cost has not been broken up into multiple departments. There is only one department which must be having all the cost. Single means blanket rate. Single means what? Single means blanket rate. So this is blanket recovery rate being followed based on direct labor hours. So blanket rate is calculated how? Total overhead by total hours. So you don't need to focus on how many departments are there. So total overhead you already know that, which is 21 lakh. Total hours you already know 40,000. Divide and get the rate. So using that rate you have to find the cost of product P and Q. Second, they are saying cost of P and Q using ABC, activity based costing system. Okay. The third is they are saying compute sales value of component K using ABC system. You have to calculate sales value of component K using ABC system. Alright. So third is this component K detail, this last paragraph, whose detail need to be computed in terms of sale value using ABC system. So let us start doing this. Note number 1. Not note number 1, part A. Let us start. You start in your copy by writing like this: solution to question 3, workbook. Workbook page number is 10.5. Write like this in your copies. Under activity based costing chapter, write like this in your copy. Page number is 10.5. And this copy's page number will be noted just beside the question. You must learn this cross referencing. It will help you a lot day before exam. Okay. So you must write this exercise book number and page number over here. So let us now begin solution to part A. Statement showing product cost under existing system particulars, product P, product Q. Let us have two columns, total and rate per unit. Usually any cost statement should have both total and rate per unit, but many times you may have just rate per unit column also, or as per question requirement just total column also. I prefer both. It simplifies our calculation usually. Okay, so first cost is direct materials. First cost is direct materials. You can copy from above. Material and labor will be always same, be it absorption costing or activity based costing. So 6,000, 4,000. For P, the cost is for 15,000 units. For Q, the cost is for 5,000 units. So cost here is 6,000, then 4,000, 6,000 and 4,000. Then direct labor cost. You can divide and find rate per unit. Direct labor cost. Wage rate is 6 rupees per hour, 960 and 100. So 960 into 6 and 100 into 6. 5760, 600. Then we have overheads. I am leaving this on you. You must fill it by yourself. I will check the total with you. For overheads, first we need overhead rate. Rate per hour, overhead rate per hour is 21 lakh by 40,000. 21 lakh by 40,000 is 52.5 per labor hour. So using this now, 52.5 into total hours here is 960 into 960 is coming 50,400. And similarly here it is 52.5 into 100, 5250. So now you can put tick over here. I am waiting for the total answer from you. Please give me the total of both. Answer please. Okay, 60 to 160 per unit. Q is 9850 per unit also. For P it is 4.144 and for Q 1.97. All right. Thank you so much. Keep participating, please. You have full rights. You have paid full fees. You have full rights to participate. You are not watching the video. Now we are coming to part B. Statement showing product cost using ABC. Particulars product P, product Q. Total per unit. So we have direct material, direct labor, which you can just copy. It will be same. It is not changing. It may change in some questions, in some rare case. In that case, question needs to specify where it will change and how it will change. So if nothing is mentioned, we assume these two costs at least same under both the system. So next we have overheads. As you know, there are three activities here: receiving, production setup, and quality inspection. And for this three, we don't have the rate available with us. So we need to do some working note to find out the rates and then the cost. Then total cost will come. So now to find out the rate, we are doing note number 1. Activity rate per driver. Particulars we have three activities: receiving, production setup, quality inspection. So what we will be doing, first we will apportion our items of expenses in these three activities, and in that I have already shared the sequence. First we will start with technical staff salaries. Technical staff salary amount is 637,500. 637,500. Now you are going to apportion in the ratio 30, 40, 30, right? So 30% is going to machine maintenance. So we don't have machine maintenance head right now. 40% of this to be taken, 637,500 into 40%. 255. 637,500 into 30%. 191,250. So after this we have machine operation, the cost of this machine operation is 10,12,500. Then we have machine maintenance. In machine maintenance, cost is 187,500, inner column. In this we will add technical staff, and that will be 30% of 637,500. The figure is already there, 191,250. So a part of this is coming over here. This is the trick here. So 191,250 plus 187,500 is 378,750. Plus 10,12,500 is 1391,250. So now this needs to be apportioned in 20:80 ratio. Into 20%. And this 20/80 will go where? If you remember, 20% is going in stores and 80% in production activity. So 20% of this is 1391,250 into 20%, 278,250, and then 1391,250 into 80%. Is 11,13,000. So we have apportioned 3 expenses. If you see, we have apportioned 3 expenses. First 3 has been done. Now there is a 4th item for which nothing was mentioned in the question. So do it need to be apportioned? Of course, it needs to be apportioned. So how it will be apportioned, that is not mentioned, but it is very much obvious from the name itself. Wages and salaries of store staff. Store staff. Store staff means in which activity? Now you only be the judge and tell me which activity. Store staff means it should be in receiving, production setup, or quality inspection. You tell me. Should it go into all 3? Or should it go only in one activity? If nothing is mentioned, it is by reason. Reason is you got to think. Wages of store staff. What do you say? Where it should go? 262,500. Wages of store staff. It should go only in receiving activity. Yes, Vijitesh, thank you. Only receiving. Receiving is a store activity here. Now you remember I was talking about something called as allocation and apportionment in my previous concept discussion. Allocation means what? Allocation means putting the whole of expense into one department. This is allocation. And apportionment requires some ratio. So until now we were doing apportionment and this has been allocated. From this we will get total cost. $547.50. Take the total 1368 and 191,250. This is only called as cost pool. Then we need to take their cost drivers, the total of which was given in your second table in the question. Here the total drivers for the period were this much. 2040 is for setup, 1960 is for suppliers, and 1280 is for quality inspection. So first will be 1960, 2040, and lastly it is 1280. This is 1960 consignments, 2040 setups, and 1280 quality inspections. Now from this you divide and find out the activity rate. Please tell me the answers of all three. Activity rate per driver. Tell me the answers, please. $275.89, $670.59, and $149.41. Thank you. So let's move ahead. Since we have got the rate, now we can find the cost of product. You can check the rate again. So now we can move to cost of product. So for receiving, the rate is 275.89, and this needs to be multiplied with the number of consignments for product P, which you will see in the next table. For product P, number of consignments received is 48, and for Q it is 52. So multiply by 48 and 52 into 48 into 52. You can write your answers, I am not asking. Okay, you can divide by units to find out per unit also. And if you have understood, then please complete the statement. Don't wait for me. You complete the statement swiftly. Be fast. Here it will be into 24. Then this is at the rate 149.41 into 30. 149.41 into 10. Please tell me the total and per unit of P and Q. I hope you are not waiting for me. I am actually waiting for you. It might be so that there is a confusion that you are waiting for me and I am waiting for you. Please be fast. Now if you don't give me answer in a count of 10, okay, I've got the answer. It is 53,626 and 36,535. I've rounded it off. Now divide it by units to get per unit. Divide by 15,000 is 3.575, and here it is 36,535 divided by 5,000 is 7.31. Alright, I've just rounded it off. Chat bar gets hidden after 2-3 replies. You need to learn how to operate that. It should not hide. You need to learn how to operate it. Okay, so here we have done part A and B. Now there is part C where we are going to calculate sales value of component K. So we are going to part C. Statement showing sales value of component K. Using ABC. Particulars. Total per unit. Direct material. So for component K, we are working for 3000 units, okay. For 1 quarter we are finding the quotation. Check direct material. It is 12,000. Divide by 3000 is 4. Direct labor. It is 300 hours. Rate would be same 6 rupees. So 1800 divided by 3000 is 0.6. Then the design cost is coming under direct expense, initial design cost. So this is something new here which we generally skip. It might get skipped from our eyes. So you need to take this surely. 60,000 rupees is for 24,000 units. So divide by 24 and multiply by 3000. $60,000 into 3 by 24, 7,500 divided by 3000, 2.5, and then we will have overheads. In this overheads we are having receiving, $275.89 is the rate per driver, and in case of component K, if you will see, the number of consignments is 20. So 20, 24 and 6. So this needs to be used to take the activity cost. So into 20. This will be into 20. 275.89 into 20 is 5518. After receiving, it is production, setup, the rate is 670.59 and number of run is 6. If you will see, number of run is 6. In question only, number of run is given as 6 and quality inspection is 24. So lastly we have quality inspection. Quality inspection rate is 149.41 into 24. So multiply, take the total cost, add markup 25% on total cost, and here you get sale value. Okay, so fatafat, you tell me. Fatafat is actually a Hindi term meaning, I hope you are understanding, fast. Faster, fast is fatafat. In English it will be faster, fast. Quick, 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 quick. Four 4024. 3586. Three 4428. 8607. 43035, then divided by 3014.345. So you can put in all the columns per unit also, but this is the answer, 14.345. Answer is 14.345. Okay. So this sum is technically over, but you know there can be some additional question to this, which I am making you write here in part D. Say there is one new question added here. Advise the management on use of ABC for pricing component K. Advise the management on use of ABC for pricing component K. Advise the management on use of ABC for pricing component K. Now what is being asked here? As you can see that component K is being priced using ABC system. So we are asking here whether ABC system being used for K is justified or not. Now if you see, component K's order is for 2 years. Remember, I had shared with you in my previous discussion that ABC is not for short term decision making. It is for the products whose cost will vary with their cost drivers in the long run. So we can say that since component K's order will last only for 2 years, so pricing it using ABC may not reflect its true cost, because ABC is supposed to be used only for those products that will have a long-term impact, those decisions that will have a long-term impact. So this is something new which usually in exam you may not be able to write if you have not heard about it. So this analysis usually we don't do when we are reading the questions. Okay, so usually don't focus on okay what will happen with 2 years, but if something like this is asked in exam, then that 2 years thing is important. So you will see, say in short, you can write the answer in your copies. You will say in short, the lifespan of component K is of 24,000 by 3,000 is equal to 8 quarters, and it is equal to 2 years. We know that the ABC system, activity based costing system, reflects accuracy in long term overhead costs and not in short term decisions. Hence, the use of ABC for component K may not reflect its true cost. तो ये देखो, आपने अभी क्या बोला, ABC यूज करने से, आई एम सो सॉरी, आई कन्वर्टेड माई सेल्फ इनटू हिंदी. सो हियर what we said here that if I use ABC, then what will happen? What I said here is, if I use ABC, then what will happen? It will not reflect its true cost. All right. So now, whenever any question is about advising, remember, you need to advise the correct thing also. You cannot just say that, okay, this is not correct. Then what is correct? Whenever it is an advice type question, you must also write what is the correct way to do it. The company could have priced it using traditional or existing costing system The company could have priced it using traditional or existing costing system. So whenever we are saying advise, you have to come to some conclusion also. And whenever we are saying advise, you cannot just reject an option. You have to also give an alternate, correct way to do it. That is called as advise. Advise just doesn't mean that you give your opinion. Advise means you should give a correct alternative also. Or if say there are more alternatives, then you should talk about each of the alternatives. Whenever advice type question is there, you should talk about each of the alternatives and their consequences. Okay. So we'll see in more questions later on. So this was the idea. Sometimes you get also question like this also. That question will ask you to compare the cost of traditional and activity based costing. So if you will compare, product P's cost is lesser in ABC and product Q's cost is very high in ABC as compared to traditional. So this has got decreased and this has got increased. So what does this mean? That Q is using more of our resources than P, which is reflected by ABC. You remember I had also talked about high volume products, like we are producing here 15,000 units of P and we are producing for Q 5,000 units. You remember I had talked a limitation, I had shared with you a limitation of absorption costing, that high volume products gets more cost. So that was happening here. High volume product gets more cost in absorption costing, but factually high volume product requires lesser resources, so they should have low cost per unit. So that is reflected in ABC here. Low volume product 5,000 gets lower cost in absorption costing, but factually they require higher resources, more resources, so their cost per unit should be higher. So all these analysis can be required to be written in our practical exam question. So this is workbook just for crystallization of concept, but exam question will always include some more spices in the question, and those would be something like this advice kind of thing, or comparison or analyze the cost of product P and Q under both the system. So when analyze the cost is given, you will say that see, product P's cost has increased but Q's product P's cost has decreased but Q's cost has increased. This is because P may be using lesser resources. So activity based costing allocates cost as per the resources consumed, so cost has decreased. So this way you have to write a reason about that also. So right now I don't have any question related to that, but still I had shared something with you. There can be other question which you will find in workbook only. Sometimes question will ask, give some recommendation as to how to reduce the activity based cost of products. See, for especially product Q, you are having very high cost. So question may ask how to reduce activity based cost of product Q. So that kind of question is already there in your workbook. You must have studied that already as instructed. But if you have not studied by chance, then just listen once for answer of this. If you are asked a question like how we can reduce the activity based cost, because we are having high cost here. So question is asking some recommendation as to how to reduce the cost. In that case, what we say is, we will see how the drivers of this product Q can be reduced. So we can write comments like this. Recommendation will be number 1. You see, we are having more number of consignments for Q. For P, we are having 48 consignments for 15,000 units production, and here for 5,000 we are having consignments as 52. So what does this mean? We are buying materials in very small lots. So recommendation number 1 would be, you can write these points. I will suggest you to write these points. How to reduce activity based cost of product Q. Write these points. How to reduce activity based cost of product Q. How to reduce activity based cost of product Q. Now I am using simple terminology. In exam question, they may say with the word recommend. Recommend how to reduce activity based cost of product Q. So the answer here would be, first point of recommendation can be, you see the number of consignment here is very large than compared to P. So you can write this way, that number of consignments to be reduced. And how it can be reduced? You cannot just write number of consignment to be reduced. That is not a perfect answer. How? To be reduced, how? Number of consignments received to be reduced. Now the question is how? How to reduce? You have to also write about this. By in ordering more quantity at a time. Okay. Now whenever, say, the answer is in recommendation, when you are writing a recommendation, you need to again substantiate your basis of writing this. How it got clicked to you. How it got clicked to you. Number of consignment received to be reduced. How it got clicked to you. So you can substantiate this by explaining the details of P and Q. For product P, there are 48 consignments. To produce 15,000 units. And for Q, there are 24 consignments, sorry, not 24, 52 consignments to produce 5,000 units. So this is actually alerting us that we should actually focus on reducing the number of consignments for product Q. Secondly, similarly you can write about number of production runs. Number of production runs to be reduced by producing more quantity at a time. At a time, or you can write more quantity per run. If we have more quantity per run, automatically number of runs will be reduced. So this can again be substantiated with the figures of P and Q. So I am not elaborating the substantiation. I am not writing it. Third is number of quality inspection. To be reduced. All cost drivers can be actually picked up and commented upon. To be reduced. And how it will be done? See, inspection is always a non-value adding activity. How you will reduce the inspection? By working with reputed suppliers. If you have reputed suppliers, they actually sell quality products. So if you are buying quality products and reputed suppliers are working with you, then the responsibility of inspection reduces in your organization, because you are actually then using what? Quality materials, right? 1 second please. Yes. By working with reputed suppliers. Now sir, how these ideas are coming into your brain? These were not written anywhere in your notes. Yes, this is the challenge. This is the case study exam. Now all these idea will start coming once you study this for the first time. Okay, this is how the syllabus is. You understand the concept, and then for application you have to bring upon new ideas, and that new ideas will start coming once you have studied it. So number of quality inspection can be reduced by working with reputed suppliers. Okay, we cannot say that we should not inspect at all. If you are buying good raw materials, then the dependency on inspection can be reduced. Okay, so I have given you 3 points. Usually, how do we write these answers? We write these answers by focusing on the different cost drivers. Moreover, you can also write about redesigning product queue in order to reduce its complexity. It might be that product queue is using more production run because of its complexity. So you may redesign the product queue in order to reduce its complexity. See, these are ideas that come across the subject in several chapters. So what I am doing is mixing my concept of other chapters over here. Since you have not done all the chapters, you may not know about these points from beginning, but this is the way we study. So the moment you will see that you know all the chapters, all this become very obvious for you. Later on you will see that all these points are also coming in our notes, but connection has to be done right away. Nothing can be done right now. Okay, so sometimes it might be possible that there is no possibility of doing all this whatever you have recommended. So we can also say seeking continuous improvement, continuous small improvement in costs. So it might be that currently there is no possibility to reduce the cost. Seeking continuous small improvements in costs. So gradually we will reduce some portion of the cost. We also call this continuous improvement as Kaizen. Continuous small improvement in cost. So whatever activity wise rate is there currently, activity wise rate, the rates which we calculated to apportion the cost. So on this we can seek some continuous improvement, or we can seek continuous improvement in the volume of the drivers consumed. That means here maybe not much, but if we can just reduce by one unit also, then also there will be some savings. So let us try that at least one unit can be saved. So that sounds easier, right? So if you are not putting pressure on your team and you just want that they should reduce only 1 unit, continuous small improvement, and that being continuous in nature, so someday you will get a significant improvement. So that is the principles of Kaizen. So you can write answers like this. Okay, recommend ways to reduce ABC cost of Q. Now there is no specific and foolproof answer for this kind of question. It is solely on your understanding of the concept. Okay, there can be some new points also, which if say any question is putting up and giving their answer, they can give it in a new way also. It is just your own understanding of the concept. So by the time you will see the course is complete, I am sure that you will have some points always in your mind. Okay, so with this I have completed with you fully this question. So this is a master question which covers everything about activity based costing. Alright, so I am expecting that you will do all the remaining questions of this workbook by yourself. So let us switch to our next concept to be discussed. Let us switch to our next concept to be discussed. Come into fast track book. I hope you all are comfortable. Please just reply yes. I hope you all are with me. Just reply yes in chat. I hope you are understanding the gravity of the subject also. Just reply yes. How even easy chapter, simple chapter sometimes takes a turn by asking some questions which are never there in your concept notes. Okay, so those answers will be coming from your overall understanding of the subject. So you don't have to worry about this. Once you have understanding of different chapters of the subject, you can always mingle the things and write your answer. Okay. How the answers will be evaluated, as different concepts are to be written in one answer. So it will be evaluated the way it has to be. That you don't worry, evaluation will be perfect. So usually an examiner gets several options in his recommended answer and he checks whether somehow you are close to those recommended answers or not. Okay. Thank you so much. Let's come back to our fast track book. It is about activity based budgeting. Activity based budgeting. So what is activity based budgeting? Let us recall this. I might have discussed about this in very small understanding in previous session. Now let us elaborate. Activity based budgeting. Activity based budgeting is what? First, let us talk about under traditional system what happens. Under traditional costing system, you have departments, say department A and B, and then there are cost of departments, say 10 lakhs and 15 lakhs. Then we have cost of departments, say 10 lakh and 15 lakh. Okay. My point is how this amount was freezed as 10 lakh and 15 lakh. So there must be some working behind this. There must be some working behind this. The statement that you prepare for this working is called as budget. Now in traditional costing, the process of budgeting is called as traditional budgeting. The process of budgeting is called as traditional budgeting. What is traditional budgeting? What is traditional budgeting? Okay. Under traditional budgeting, what happens is once we have fixed an amount for the budget, then in coming period, say this is for a month, okay, monthly cost. Then in coming period, there is an auto sanction of the budget for rupees 10 lakh and 15 lakh. In coming period, the budget will be auto approved for 10 lakh and 15 lakh. If there is any extra requirement, then questions will be asked, otherwise not. So that way what happens is every month our departmental managers will know that okay, 10 lakhs is going to come, so we can spend easily. So they will never try to save the organization cost. If every time HO is sending, head office is sending 10 lakhs and 15 lakhs, then what to worry? They must be having enough money. So that's why they are sending. They are not questioning us. So let us spend in leisure. Even if there is some cost reduction possibility or opportunity exists, they won't try to grab it. So that is the problem in traditional budgeting system. So when we switch to activity based costing, first of all, you know already that we don't have department concept, we have activity concept, activity 1, 2, 3, 4, like that will come. Then we will have cost pool of each of the activities. Cost pool will come. Now the working will be there behind the calculation of this cost pool, and that working will called as budget. You can say activity wise budget or activity cost budget. Now the method of preparation of this budget is not traditional budgeting. We follow here zero-based budgeting. What is zero-based budgeting? This you must have studied in intermediate level also. Zero-based budgeting is every time the budget is prepared like a new budget, that is zero base. Say the first time when we freeze the amount of each of the activity, we prepare everything in detail, but we don't assume that in subsequent month the amount should be same. In subsequent month again the full explanation in detail will come. In another month again the full explanation has to be given as to why any penny is required for this activity. So every time, since explanation is asked from our managers, they take cost seriously and they suggest creatively about cost reduction opportunity, because they are continuously engaged into justification of each and every cost that is required for this activity. So that's the beauty of activity based budgeting. Now interestingly, when we write answer, okay, when we write answer, we don't talk about zero-based budgeting because we are not studying budgeting chapter right now. But we write in the underlying meaning of the concept. That means whenever we'll write answer about activity-based budgeting, we will always talk about that every time the budget is prepared, we have to justify the cost of activity in detail, so that we know what resources are actually required to execute the activity, which staff will be responsible for this, and there will be no possibility of missing cost reduction opportunities. Got it? So I am again repeating, whenever we are writing the answer about activity based budget, we always talk about three things. What three things? That every time it requires justification of cost. So list of resources are well noted every time the budgets are prepared. Second, who will be doing, that is the activity staff responsibilities are well noted, so that we can understand who will be doing what, so that there is no misutilization of funds. And the third is, there is less chance of missing cost opportunities. No cost reduction opportunity is missed. So we have to do our planning in a manner that our activity costs are always optimized. Optimized means without this you cannot do, and there is no excess in it. Okay, so activity based budgeting, or rather I will first say, any budgeting exercise is also used for performance evaluation. How do we use performance evaluation here? Say if I know the budget of this departments and I have asked my department managers to execute their responsibilities within this budget, I can always take the actual detail at the end of the period and compare it with the budget, whether they are within the budget or they are exceeding the budget. So if they are within the budget, performance is good. If they are exceeding the budget, then performance is not favorable. So this way we do performance analysis using budget. Budget has got one of the use called as performance analysis. So similarly, here also we can do that same performance analysis with activity managers, that we had given already activity based budget. Now what is the actual cost? So we can compare and see whether they are within our budget or not, right? So activity based budgeting will also help us in performance evaluation of our activity managers. Activity based budgeting's best part is what you know what is going to happen in the activity cost. So you cannot say, okay, let us see at the end of the period what is my activity cost. You should pre-planned, you should know from before how much cost you are going to incur, and that should be the only cost. It's not like, okay, I will see what will be my cost. You should know your cost beforehand. Okay, that's about the budget. That's about activity based budget. So when you know cost beforehand, the advantage of this is what you know. Many times some activities are critical activities. Critical means that those activities should never be delayed. If you are delaying, that will cost you in terms of production quantity. So you cannot stop any activity. So if you cannot stop any activity, you need to have continuous supply of resources for those activities. There should never be any absenteeism there. There should not be any shortage of supply of materials over there. So if say there are some critical or vital activities which are very critical to run the production system, and they require continuous supply of resources, your budget will actually help you to understand the list of resources and when to procure them, at what cost to procure them, to keep them always ready so that activity is not compromised. So that's the best part of budgeting. Budgeting means knowing your expenses beforehand, and knowing helps us to make the list of resources that will be used in that action or activity. So that helps us a lot to smoothly execute also. Say if you have a budget in your pocket where you are going to make a building of your construction of building for yourself, and if you have a predefined budget money in your pocket, so what can be the advantage of this? You know that once the work is started, it won't stop because of want of funds or want of resources. It may stop because of some other uncontrollable scenario, but it won't stop for want of funds. So that's the best part of budget usually. Okay, so now let us recollect what is all written over here. Budgeting is providing a framework for estimating the amount of resources required for an activity. You see, we say estimating the amount of cost, or you can also say estimating the amount of resources, because resources always come at cost. Then what you can make the best use of budgeting is actual results can be compared with budgeted results to highlight why the deviation exists. Now deviation may exist sometimes due to financial reason, and sometimes it may be due to non-financial reason. Now what are non-financial reasons, that we'll take up later when we'll do more about performance evaluation in our subsequent chapters. So we are just taking some notes here that the deviation can be due to financial or non-financial terms. So it can be due to some financial extra cost you have incurred. Say instead of 10 lakh, if you have incurred 11 lakh, okay, that is a financial deviation. Extra 1 lakh has gone. But if say instead of 10 lakh, you have incurred 9 lakh, you have saved 1 lakh, but because of that saving, you have lost your goodwill or quality, then you have a non-financial deviation, something like this. If you just for example, you have to understand. So budgeting will help you to understand major discrepancies. Remember, we don't act for each and every discrepancy or deviation. We only act for those discrepancies which we cannot tolerate. So we will always find out major discrepancies from budget and seek for reduction of those discrepancies or elimination of those discrepancies. It seeks to support the objectives of continuous improvement. Now how an organization does continuous improvement with the help of budget, you know. See, activity wise cost is coming by some way, correct? And it is coming through activity budget. In budget, what you have is, you have list of resources, the rate of resources is there, and quantity of resources used will be there. So rate multiplied by quantity is giving you the total cost of resources. Agreed? Rate multiplied by quantity is giving you the total cost of resources. Rate multiplied by quantity is giving you the total cost of resources. How a company reduces its cost? Interesting to listen. So what they will do, either on quantity or on rate, every month they will just ask them to reduce by 1 unit. That is continuous improvement. Maybe just say for rate purpose, if say rate is 60 rupees per unit, they will ask that how can it be done in say 59.8 paisa. Just 20 paisa we want to reduce. It can be say just 0.0001%. So they seek for this much small improvement from their managers, and if managers are able to achieve that, then they will give them incentive, and if not, then management will work with the activity managers to help them achieve. Why you are not able to achieve? Let me see, let me work with you. And then again, if managers achieve, they will give the incentive. Don't worry about that. And if say managers actually achieve that reduction, what they will do next, you know, in next month they will again ask for another 0.001% reduction. So this way, every period interval they will seek some kind of reduction, which at the end of a longer period become a significant improvement. So continuous improvement means every time you seek for small improvement, small savings, which is very minor saving, very less amount saving, but in the long run it must accumulate together to form a big savings, to form a drastic savings. Okay, so when we are doing this, what we are doing is Kaizen. Now there is benefit of Kaizen. What is the benefit? Every time our managers are continuously thinking how to reduce cost, because in lieu of that they will be getting incentive. So they will be thinking upon the ideas of reducing cost. If this work is done that way, if that work is totally eliminated, if that activity is totally eliminated, the company will save this much. So they will start thinking only when you have some incentives for them. So that is the benefit. But there is one limitation for this also. What is the limitation of Kaizen? That limitation of Kaizen is that they may sometimes compromise quality. They may sometimes compromise quality. You can write this limitation: compromise quality. They may sometimes compromise quality. Our workers may sometimes compromise quality in search of reduction of cost. And sometimes what happens is, another point is, they only are seeking minor improvement, whereby there is an opportunity to bring upon major improvement. There are ways to improve majorly also, but why you are only and only focusing on minor improvement? Okay, in Hindi we say chindi chindi, chota chota, small. Why you will do chindi improvement only? You should try to bring a drastic improvement also if possible. So they become so myopic that they are only focusing on chindi improvements. So I will say another limitation is ignores major improvement. So if it is possible also, that doesn't come in their eyes, because they are only focusing on microscopic organisms kind of thing. Ignores major improvements. Okay, so these two are the limitation of Kaizen, and there are three key elements of activity based budgeting. The three key elements are: it makes you aware about types of work to be done. That means the activities that are required to be done. Types of work to be done is basically the activities that you need to do. Then quantity of work to be done, because activity cost will be coming from the list of resources required for that activity. So quantity of work to be done. And lastly, what will be the cost? Quantity and cost. So you'll get to know three things: activity, the quantity of resources required in that activity, and the cost of such resources. So these are three things on which your activity based budgeting are based. I'll also make you write some benefits of activity based budgeting, which is not given here. You can just take a note in three small phrases. First benefit you write over here is identification of resource needs. Whatever resources are needed, that are easily identified, so we don't waste any resource. Second number, clear staff responsibilities. Third number is no inefficiency. We also called inefficiency by another name called as budgetary slack. SLACK. No inefficiency or budgetary slack. no inefficiency or budgetary slack. See, these 3 points only I was talking over here: list of resources, responsibilities, and no cost reduction opportunities missed. So that only I am saying it again in the name of no inefficiency or budgetary slack. Now there is a term specifically used in case of budgetary system, budgeting system, which is budgetary slack. What is it? I'll just clarify. We will do again in budgetary chapter. What is budgetary slack? Budgetary slack is whenever we ask our lower level managers or executives to give us an estimate of the cost that will be incurred in their department or activity for a certain period, they usually have tendency to inflate the cost and submit to the higher authorities. Now the question is, why will they inflate? Because they know that the management is going to push them to be within the budget. So if they have inflated their budget, okay, it will be easy for them to execute their work, and if they can save something, they can put it in their pocket. See, many times we have also done this with our parents. When we ask money for specific purpose, we ask some 200-300 extra. If any savings is there, then we can use it for ourselves. Or if say we are not that way, but still we keep extra in hand just to have an easy execution. If by chance also something extra needs to be incurred, we won't actually hesitate. So that is, in personal life we call it as, in Hindi we call it as शौक भी बड़ी चीज है, ठीक है? It might be your passion, it might be your esteem, whatever, okay? But in corporate world, you cannot say that you are giving some leisure money to your managers to spend as and what they like. So that should not happen. So activity based budgeting can prevent us to have that budgetary slack, because this has got connection with zero based budgeting. Every time we will be asking our managers questions about how much resource is required, why it is required. So they won't be able to keep any money aside for themselves for leisure spending, okay? So this is whole idea of activity based budgeting. Next I am coming to next point, activity based management. Activity based management is basically a scientific way of thinking over the information derived from activity based costing in a manner that can help an organization to perform better in future. What is activity based management? It is a scientific way of thinking by using the information provided by activity based costing, in order to have a better future of the company. You can say ABM is a broader concept which is connecting the future of the company from whatever happened in the past with the long-term strategy of the company. ABC is a kind of a regular exercise that may happen continuously as when products are produced, but ABM is not very continuous, but ABM requires use of special brains, or you can say high level top management brains, whereby they are reading the reports of ABC, cost of ABC, and trying to think how can we reduce our cost of products, how can we improve profit of our products. So ABM starts from routine activities. First is routine activities. Routine activities means you already have the list of activities in activity based costing reports. So you will study each of the activity and understand what we are actually doing in that activity and see whether we actually need that activity or not. If it is not needed, then that activity will be eliminated. Now how we will decide whether the activity will be needed or not? you have to identify what importance our customers are giving to the outcome of that activity. What importance the customers are giving to the output of that activity. If customers are not willing to pay for such outcome, then it is non-value adding. And if customers are willing to pay or be with you or come to you always for that outcome, then it is value adding. So value adding activity, non-value adding activity are what? Value adding activities are those activities for which customers are willing to pay and they choose to be with you. Okay, and non-value adding activity is what? For which customers are not willing to pay. So you study the list of activities, identify what are not required or non-value adding, do some customer survey before that, and then eliminate those, save your cost. So these ideas, when it is coming, it is activity based management. It is not activity based costing. Costing is just estimating the cost, calculation of rate, multiplying with the cost drivers, getting the statement. But management is about thinking on how to reduce our cost. Okay, so this study of routine activities is called as operational ABM, if you can see here. Secondly, we can always think of making a new kind of product, a new different product, which by its nature will consume less number of activities, will be produced in least number of steps, least number of activities. So if you are planning to have a product designed in a manner that will, it's by nature having least number of activities or will be only having value adding activities, then it is strategic ABM. Strategic ABM is a decision that you are taking which will be implemented in the longer period of time. A decision that will be implemented in longer period of time. Got it? So strategic ABM gets executed in a longer period of time. Operational is routine work. So in ABM, the routine work is to read the activities and understand whether you need it or not. And apart from that, there are multiple benefits, or you can say features of ABM. Other than this, it helps in pricing, better pricing of your products. It helps in product profitability analysis. It helps in customer profitability analysis. So based on that, you can decide which product to continue or discontinue. It helps in performance evaluation of your different managers. ABM will go in each activity and see that, say this activity, for example, has to be done within this budget, and the manager of this activity has actually done this activity within this budget and saved some amount for your company. So that way you are understanding, okay, is doing better performance also, is able to save some money for the company. So performance evaluation can be also done with the help of ABM practices. ABM is basically reading your ABC information to do something more. So you can do performance evaluation using ABM principles. Then you can seek for continuous improvement using activity based budgeting. You can do some cost driver analysis. Cost driver analysis is, remember, we were talking about structural, executional, resource and activity cost drivers. So what you actually need, how you can reduce the cost driver volume also. We were talking about that in that workbook question also, how to reduce the cost driver volume. So cost driver analysis is that. You can create some internal benchmark, or you can follow some industry benchmark for doing an activity, like how will you will actually execute that activity. So benchmark is basically the best practice that you should follow, which might be taken from any competitor's survey, or it might be created by of your own experience also. So you can set benchmarks of doing any activity. So that way we raise our standards. Usually it might be at some extra cost. Then it helps in pricing, it helps in cost reduction opportunities. It is also analyzing value adding and non-value adding activities. We also call this process technically as value analysis, which you will study with me in some other chapter. Design decisions, we call this as value engineering, which you will study this in some other chapter with me, value engineering. So these all technical names will keep coming, that is not a worry. I hope you are understanding the entire context of ABC and ABM. Out of these, I will say there are three very important ones which you can always remember. Then first is pricing, second is this activity analysis, third is performance evaluation. Most of the questions ask usually like what can be the benefits of ABM. So writing that is of course required in the context of the given question, and in that you can put these 3 points as minimum points always whenever any question is there. Now there is some limitation of ABM. What is limitation? See, sometimes some activities can be non-value adding in the eyes of management, but in the eyes of employees it might be value adding, in the eyes of customers it might be value adding, or maybe in the eyes of stakeholders, other any stakeholders like society of your company, is geographical location, the local community, they are giving much value to it. So sometimes ABM ignores such kind of value addition done by any activity. For example, a good working environment. For example, a canteen in your company for your workers. So you might say that when canteen was not there, then also I was getting the same output. Now when canteen is there, I am getting the same output from my workers. So after providing food also to the workers, you have not seen any significant improvement in the efficiency of workers. So you are now thinking this canteen is non-value adding. So you want to eliminate that. So what will happen? The workers may go on strike. The workers may have agitation with management. There may be problems in hiring new workers in future. If it goes in the ears of your customers, they may also feel low about you. So there can be several non-financial impact of non-value adding activity which we may sometimes ignore while doing ABM. Okay, so does not consider non-financial value of a cost. And then there is very famous question in exam, difference between ABC and ABM. So you will say ABM is a broader concept which includes ABC in it. ABC is just about distribution of cost, but ABM is about how you will use the activities to produce the product. It is also about rationalization of activities. Rationalization means which activities to have, which activities should not be used, which activities to be used to improve the value received by customers. ABC supplies the information, whereas ABM uses the information in various analysis to yield continuous improvement. So ABC is the supplier of information, ABM is the user of information. So that's how I started with the concept that ABM is about using the information provided by ABC in order to bring more improvements, more value addition in the products that the company is producing. Okay, so you can just check out that whether I have covered everything or not. It implies the use of ABC as a costing tool to manage cost at activity level. Operational ABM is about identifying and improving value added and removing non-value added activities to reduce cost without distorting product value. So it is about eliminating non-value adding activities. In short, you can always note eliminating non-value adding activities. Eliminating non-value adding activities. Strategic ABM is about designing new products. Designing new products. Many times we use this kind of verb also, proverb also. Here we say doing things right. Okay, whatever you are doing, do it in the right way. And strategic ABM is about doing right things. That means design a product in a manner that it is only right. It has got no wrong thing or no extra stuffs. Okay, so doing those product or having those processes which are more profitable, that is strategic ABM. Then benefits, three key benefits you should always remember: performance evaluation, value analysis, and pricing. Limitation is ignores non-financial impact of non-value adding activities. non-value adding activities sometimes can have some other impact which we may ignore. Okay, then there is difference between ABC and ABM, which is easy to remember. ABC is just a costing technique. ABM is a broader concept which uses ABC's information to rationalize the activities, to add more value to the products. Okay, ABC is the supplier of information, ABM is the user of information. Then there is one small heading, ABC in advanced manufacturing environment. Advanced manufacturing environment basically implies large scale organization having high automations. So for them, usually we know that ABC is most suitable, correct? We have studied that in that way only, traditional versus modern environment. So advanced manufacturing environment is nothing but modern environment. Okay, so ABC there brings a lot of opportunities for cost improvement. Their traditional costing will not reflect the true cost. That's written in the first paragraph. ABC provides more realistic and accurate product costing. Traditional will not reflect the breakup of different cost over there. Okay, so this is our point number 11. So with this, actually the entire activity based costing discussion along with activity based management and budgeting gets over. Okay, I will take up one more concept for today. I'll take up one more small concept for today, which is break-even analysis under ABC. Now let us understand this break-even analysis under ABC. What is it about? Break-even concept we study in depth in a different chapter called CVP analysis, cost volume profit analysis, which you have also done in the name of marginal costing intermediate. Here we are doing the same break-even analysis but using the concept of activity based costing. So first and foremost, what is break-even point? Break-even point is the level of sales where total revenue is equal to total cost, where total contribution is equal to total fixed cost, where there is no profit, no loss. So you all know this. So nothing has to be explained in this. So what is the difference with ABC? First of all, the concept remains same. Break-even concept is not changing. It is total fixed cost by contribution per unit only. Okay, you remember the calculation formula of break-even, total fixed cost by contribution per unit or total fixed cost by PV ratio. The concept remains same. There is no change over here. Okay, so what is the change then? First, if you remember, I have talked that ABC deals with overheads. Overheads in absorption costing, we assume that all are fixed, but ABC assumes all overheads are variable, but only in the long run. In short run, they cannot be variable. Remember this. ABC assumes our overhead to be variable in the long run. ABC assumes overhead to be variable in long run. In short run, it is fixed, just like traditional costing. In short run, it is fixed only. Okay, just like traditional costing. So this is one new concept to be noted over here, to be remembered over here. Okay, so ABC is having overheads variable in long run, but in short run it is fixed only. So under absorption costing, when we study, what we have is all overheads are fixed always. Okay, so when we switch to activity based costing, what happens? We just break down the overheads into different activities. After switching to ABC, you may write this, you need not write this, you can just listen. You can always write it later on, guys. You should focus more on listening. After switching to ABC, what will happen? After switching to ABC, what we do is we just analyze, we break down our fixed overheads into multiple activities, activity 1, activity 2, right? And in some cases it may be possible that we are not taken breakup of entire fixed overhead. So whatever we did not break is called as unanalyzed fixed cost. Unanalyzed fixed cost means what? Means they are those fixed costs which have not yet been broken into activities. It's not necessary that as soon as ABC is implemented, you will break your entire fixed cost into activities. You can keep some fixed costs still as unanalyzed, and some activities you might have taken up. So what should happen actually? The activity wise total cost of this activity, then total cost of this activity, and total cost of this unanalyzed fixed cost UFC should together be same as the total fixed cost which is also there in the absorption costing. If in absorption costing my total fixed cost is 5 lakhs, then here also the fixed cost should be 5 lakhs, because you cannot see any savings immediately in activity based costing. Now if you operate with this activity wise concept for a long period of time, then you start understanding how I can reduce this cost, how I can reduce this cost, and then there will be savings. In long term there can be savings, but in short term the total fixed cost here and here will be same. So when you are finding activity based costing wise break even point, for break even what you need is total fixed cost. In absorption costing or in general sums, total fixed cost is generally given, but if say activity wise breakup cost is given, how will you get the total fixed cost? The total fixed cost will come by taking total of this 3. The total fixed cost will come by taking total of this 3, and then this has to be divided by your contribution per unit to find the break even point. You see, in short I have written very easily, total fixed cost is activity wise fixed cost plus unanalyzed fixed cost. So that total fixed cost needs to be taken to find the break even point. Many times it happens that in a question it may say that this unanalyzed fixed cost is having certain amount. For example, say here it was 10 lakh and still unanalyzed fixed cost is rupees 7 lakh. Say in that question it is written that unanalyzed fixed cost is rupees 7 lakhs. And question is saying that when we analyze this 7 lakhs, we found that in this 7 lakh rupees 6,50,000 is depreciation. Rupees 6,50,000 is depreciation. That is more than 90% amount is depreciation. So question is asking, should we go ahead and break this into activities? The answer for this is said this way, that you see, depreciation is an unavoidable cost which you can never avoid in long run. Why we are breaking our fixed cost into activities? Because today we won't be able to save cost in these activities, but tomorrow we can think over different activity based management principles and we can save our activity based cost. Now if we are going ahead to break this into depreciation and other activities, try to understand, depreciation is 6,50,000 which is never going to reduce, but other 50,000 can be reduced if it is an activity. Other 50,000 can be reduced in long run. But remember my guys, my friends, you need to also understand that there is a cost behind activity based costing implementation. So if you are doing this breakup analysis, there is a cost behind this analysis also. If you are doing something, that something will require some experts, some team will be devoted, some stationery will be used, some software will be used. So there is a cost against that. So how much you are going to save in this 50,000, that need to be compared with the cost of analyzing the fixed cost. So that then this analysis is of worth, right? So whenever we are doing anything, there is a cost behind that. Costing in itself is costly. So you should be able to save something more That's why in our merits and criticism of ABC, we studied that you should have a strong purpose of using ABC, because ABC in itself is a very costly system. Okay, so here the purpose doesn't seem that worthwhile, that you would be spending some money to analyze 7 lakh into 6.5 and 50,000, where 6.5 lakh cannot be reduced by any case and 50,000 can be reduced by some amount, and for that savings you will be spending on experts advice and hiring some team to do activity based costing for you, right? So if there is something, any comment like question for this case, you can write your answer this way, the way I have explained you now. So that point is also written over here. If you read, if unanalyzed fixed cost mainly consists of depreciation, further analysis under ABC is not recommended. In short, I have written in one line, but in question you will have to explain more that what will happen if you are analyzing this further into different activity. What will happen? The savings of this other activity that may generate from this may not be that much that you will be able to recover the cost of implementing ABC. So that way you need to write the answer. You don't need to take running notes, my guys. Everything will be coming in the form of questions. Whatever I discuss is definitely having some relevance in the form of questions that you are going to solve with me. Okay, so this small concept has been done. What happens, just to sum up, what happens in absorption costing? It's a normal break-even point, total fixed cost divided by contribution per unit. But with activity-based costing, in initial days, total fixed cost remains same as activity-based costing. Total fixed cost always remains same as activity-based costing. Total fixed cost of activity-based costing remains same to that of absorption costing in initial days. And how that total fixed cost will be compared? Activity wise cost plus unanalyzed fixed cost. But in long run, by studying the activities, you may reduce activity wise cost, but in long run, if unanalyzed cost mainly consists of depreciation, there is no use of actually analyzing it over and over again. Okay, so this concept also I have discussed with you. Now it's time that we got to do some sums. Okay, so I want you to also write these references after each and every concept that I am doing. Like for when I am written workbook 1 to 4, 5, also write here question 3 which I have done with you. So that means that after doing this you need to revise these questions. Okay, so for activity based budgeting, after doing this you have to do a question. Activity based budgeting, after studying this concept you have to do a question which is DJB question number 2, DJB question number 2, and then after this ABC and ABM you have to do another question which is DJB question 4 and question 6. After doing ABC and ABM you have to do another question, DJB question 4 and 6. Then after break even you have to do DJB question number 1. You have to do DJB question number 1. Okay, so please come to DJB book. I will take another 10 minutes of yours to at least do one question of DJB with you. Yeah, please come to activity based costing chapter here. I hope you all are with me. Please reply yes. I hope you all are with me. Please reply with yes. Okay, if you will come to question number 4 here, it is a very easy question which has been asked in May 18, which you can do in calculator itself. Just that I want to show a tricky area to write the notes here. Here the question is first asking whether the current system is measuring performance accurately. The answer for that will be no, but usually you write just yes or no in exam. You have to write with certain examples from the question. So that is the beauty of the answer. So I just want to show you 2 examples here. You can just mark with me: reservation department example and training cost example. So these are 2 examples which you must cite in order to get good marks. See, this is of 3 marks, not just of 1 mark that you can write yes or no. So answer is obviously no here. Why? Then that you will understand by just reading the question, which is very obvious here in this question. And in order to write the comment, how you should write for 3 marks, you have to cite some example. In exam you may cite just 1 example also, but it's not necessary that you have to cite all the example. At least 1 example should be there. So this is a new way of writing which you should focus. You should read once. Okay, and this is a very easy question. After 4, come to question number 2. Now this question 2 I have already discussed with you in my concepts. It is an easy to do sum. What is happening? I am just giving you a small discussion. You see, if you allow me to discuss, I will be able to cover more questions with you. If you will ask me to solve each and every question, which I do usually in my regular batch, I will be slowed down, and ultimately we have a limited time period to complete this course. So you have to cooperate in this way, that you will give time again back after the class at your home to actually solve the sum, not just go through the sums. Okay, so what is happening here? Just check with a glance. Here you see there are 4 activities, 1, 2, 3, 4. The actual rate is given for 2017 and budgeted rate is given for 2018, and then there are volume of drivers which are given for January 18. So there is no product costing going on here. It's just activities, and there are 3 products in this. There are 3 products. Okay, so if I have to find January's budgeted cost, it will be what? January's budgeted rate multiplied by January budgeted amount of driver. So this into this, this into this, this into this will be giving us the total cost of January. Okay, so question is actually requiring you to find this total cost. Question is requiring you to find this total cost of January. So it is very easy. Just multiply this with 16, 20 and 16 and add it. So you will get total cost of January here, 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 and then you can take the total. So that is the first part, budgeted cost for January. Very easy. You can do in calculator and check with the answer given over here. Then second, they are asking the question over here that why we should use activity based costing instead of traditional cost of goods sold based costing. Not costing, actually budgeting. Why you use activity based budgeting rather than using percentage of goods sold? Now if you remember, I had talked in traditional costing about labor hours, about machine hours, quantity produced, used as basis, but those are actually for factory overheads. Here in this question, they are having stores. Stores is not manufacturing, store is a selling activity. So we are having all these items as a selling cost here. So if it is selling cost, you cannot use labor hour, machine hour even in traditional system. In that case, the basis used is quantity sold or cost of goods sold. So that's how they are asking to compare activity based budgeting with cost of goods sold. Now compare means just theoretically, it is a theory answer that you have to write, because nowhere in this question cost of goods sold is given that you can find the rate as per cost of goods sold and find the cost So that is not possible. You just have to write theory that if we are using activity based budgeting, since budgeting is there right in the form of budgeting, if we are using activity based budgeting, it will allocate the cost more accurately and reliably. In cost of goods sold approach, what will happen? It will allocate all the cost, allocate the cost to all the products uniformly, not based on the resources used by the product. How activity based budgeting works? Activity based budgeting will allocate the cost to the products according to the resources consumed by each of the product. But cost of goods sold will be allocating the cost to the products, in a uniform manner, not on the basis of the resources used by them. So there will be a distorted view of costing or budgeted cost approach. And moreover, you can write about the benefits of ABB, write also about benefits of ABB, which is optional. You may not write, but in the answer given here, you will see that they are giving you the other benefits of activity based budgeting, which is optional, because you can always conclude just by what is asked in the question. What is asked in the question is to comment activity based budgeting in comparison with cost of goods sold. So that is written well here. Okay. And other benefits which we have also noted in our notes just before in activity based budgeting, if you remember the three key benefits, one was staff allocation, staff responsibility allocation, second was identifying the resources, third was elimination of budgetary slack. Remember, so these three are optional, still you may write or you may not, just for knowledge. Many times institute has given us more knowledge by questions, not directly in the concepts. Okay, so I have done what in my Savior book, I have incorporate all these concepts also as a note, which are coming through questions. Okay, so next they are asking what, interestingly here what they are asking is, they are saying that, you see just this paragraph, this is January's rate. In February, they are seeking for Kaizen, continuous improvement, by reducing cost driver rate, this cost driver rate. How it will be? February's rate is 0.996 times the January's rate. March rate will be 0.996 times February rate, and so on. Remember the Kaizen? I've already discussed the concept with you. So February's rate is 0.996 times of January and March rate is 0.996 times of February, and so on. So using this funda, they are asking you to prepare the budget for March, which is very simple. How it will be? 4500 is the rate of January. So what will be the rate of February? 4500 into 0.996. Okay. And then again 0.996 for March. So you got the new rate. Then multiply with the driver volumes, because driver volume they are not changing, they are just changing the rate. You can also have improvements in the form of driver volume also, but they are only changing the rate. Here they are also mentioning about this has the same budgeted amount of cost driver usage as January. So that means cost driver usage is remaining same, rate you are reducing. Okay, so it is very easy. Just reduce the rate 2 times by multiplying by 0.996 and then multiply this with 3 and get the total cost of March. So you can check your answers later. And lastly, they are also asking what are the benefits of adopting a Kaizen budgeting approach. Here we are doing Kaizen, right? Small improvement in subsequent months. So what is the benefits of Kaizen and limitation? So benefits and limitation also I have shared with you. Benefits is it keeps continuous consciousness in our managers to reduce the cost. Okay, and limitation is they may compromise quality. They may only focus on minor improvement whenever, although major improvement is also possible. Okay, so that is also written over here. They have given this table to compare, which is optional, which you may not write in your exam. Okay, so Kaizen, they have described what is Kaizen, which you again may not write. If you're writing, it's fine. You can write about this line that it will actually put more pressure on our managers to creatively seek out cost reduction by always working better within 612. Okay, and limitation of Kaizen is what? What is the limitation of Kaizen? Main limitation of Kaizen is you ignore major improvement, ignores major improvement. Only minor improvement is not enough. Now how can major improvement come? Major improvement can come by way of supplier networks, by interacting with supplier, by sitting with different supplier, okay, by choosing a different supplier, by better customer communication, customer interaction as to what they need actually, so we can understand what is value adding, what is not value adding, by better process management, so all these gets ignored when you are doing Kaizen. Okay, and again there can be compromise in quality also. So here we have written, companies need to highlight the importance of seeking these improvement as well as minor improvement. So many times companies become myopic that they are only focusing on minor improvement. Broader concept they miss to focus, right? We say no chindi savings. In my CA firm, what used to happen, you know, we used to have strict regulation on the printing of pages. There was a diary which we have to maintain, which we have to sign on how many pages I am printing and for what reason. And even if it is one page, we have to sometimes take approval from our senior that I am printing one page. They used to sign and then only we were allowed to print. So we used to think that time how chindi savings they are looking for, but that chindi savings can become a drastic improvement. But many times you become so chindi every time that you forget a major improvement that can come from a broader outlook, correct? So this already, since we have discussed, you must have understood our way of studying by now, that we are focusing hardcore on concept, and those concepts, if you will see in your institute material also, that they are not written so directly the way we are discussing. Okay, so when we are discussing, we are keeping in mind the different types of question that can come from the concept. So that way we are discussing any concept. So when the question is coming, it becomes very easy for us. So I am just skipping the writing part, else all these will take a lot of time. I think you will allow me for this. I wanted to do one more question with your permission, if you allow me. Question number 1. Question number 1. It's a short question. It's a short question. This will bring me at par with my morning batch, which is being done in Hindi. So, am I allowed for another 5-7 minutes? Today I taught extra in that batch also, but that was just by chance. I realized that I have actually used more time quite later there, but here I am realizing continuously that I am using your extra time. Okay, so let me start. It is a question on break even, already discussed, just you have to see the workings. Okay, see, catalyst is producing single product. Catalyst is producing single product. And there are two situations, current and proposed. Selling price direct cost is there, so contribution per unit is 5. If nothing is mentioned in proposed change, that means it remains same. Then present number of setups per production period before each production run setup is done. That means every time one machine is started, you need to do setup, and every time a new production run is done, a new setup is done. So number of setup we have 42, cost per setup is 450. So from this you can find the total cost of setup. From this you can find total cost of setup. Production units per run. Units per run means in one run, one setup. One run is one setup, because before each run we are doing a setup. So in one run, in one lot, run means the lot, in one lot we are producing 960 units. So in total, if we are having 42 setups, what is the current production? What is the current production? 42 into 960, what is it please? 42 into 960 is coming 40,320 units. Okay, 40,320 units. So this is one of the cost per setup into number of setup. From this I have got the number of units. Then engineering hours for the period is 500 and cost per hour is 10. So these two are giving me another cost, engineering cost. Now company has begun activity based costing of fixed costs. So company has just started with activity based costing of fixed cost and has presently identified two cost drivers, production run and engineering hours. So we could understand production run means number of setup. This is only indicating number of setup, number of runs and number of setup is same. Don't get confused production run with this information. Okay, production run means number of setup is number of runs, and engineering hours. So for this we have the two cost. Of the total fixed cost, presently rupees 96,000, total fixed cost is 96,000. After the above, 72,100 remains to be analyzed. Remains to be analyzed means it is still unanalyzed. So that means in current system total fixed cost is 96,000. Okay, in ABC system what they have done, this 96,000 has been hopefully broken into three heads. One is for production run, another is for setup, and third is for your unanalyzed fixed cost. Unanalyzed. Okay, so we can check this also. If you have multiplied this production run cost 42 into 450, 42 into 450 is 18,900. Okay, 18,900, 42 into 450, and then setup. So I'm so sorry, this is engineering cost. This is engineering cost. Here it is 5,000 and unanalyzed remains at 72,100. If you add this three, 18,900, 5,000, 72,100. If you add this three is 96,000. It is coming 96,000. Okay. So this is how total is coming. You see, total is same. Just the concept that I shared with you. If you are switching to ABC, how can you have savings immediately? You cannot have. So total remains same, just that the breakup will be there. So now since you have breakup, you can now think on reducing this two costs. This you have not yet analyzed, so this can't get reduced, but this two can be reduced. So what question has given us in proposed change, you see cost per setup is decreasing by 90 rupees. So decrease by 90, if I am coming to proposed change, another column, proposed change, if my cost per setup is decreasing by 90, that means cost is becoming at the rate 360, 350 minus 90 is 360. And how many runs will be there, that is not mentioned, but units per run is given as 1008. So units per run is 1008. They have not said that we are going to increase or decrease our total production. So we'll assume that here also 4320 units only will be produced, but the units produced will be in the run of 1008. That means every time 1008 units will be produced in one run. So what will be the number of runs? How many runs will be there? 4320 divided by 1008 divided by 1008. I am writing it here. 4320 divided by 1008. You should see this and then you can practice this question in your copy. Okay, you should see this and practice this in your copy. Okay, you cannot just copy with me. If you are doing this, do it with pencil and then fare it your understanding in your copies. So this is coming 40. Okay, if you are not copying, you know what will happen? You will forget early. If you are just seeing, you will remember today or tomorrow. If you are making a note of it in your exercise books, you will remember it for a long time. So that will be the advantage. So After class there is some hard work that you have to do. That is only the requirement to succeed in fast track. So we have 360 into 40. What will be the amount here? 360 into 40 into 360 is 14,400. Okay. And for engineering they are saying that hours is being reduced to 422. Rate, if nothing mentioned, it will be same, 10. So 422 into 10 is 4220. And unanalyzed fixed cost, nothing mentioned, so it will remain same. So you can see the reduced fixed cost 14,400, 4220, 72,100. This is coming as 90,720. So what happened because of ABC? You could reduce your activity wise cost, and that's how in long term you must have saved your total fixed cost. So question is asking how many units and in how many production runs should Catalyst Limited produce in change scenario in order to break even. You have to find break even for this new scenario. So in new scenario, your total fixed cost is known. Contribution per unit is also known, which is 5 rupees. So you can find now break even point 9720 by 5. It is coming 18,144. So this is break even point in units. They are also asking to find the number of runs. In proposed scenario, number of runs will be, in each run we are producing how many units? 1008. Have you noticed this? 1008. In one run we are producing 1008 units. So divided by 1008. How many runs you are getting? 18 runs. See, I am solving for you. You need to copy this in your copy exercise book. Watch the video just after few minutes of the class. You will get the video in your app. Okay. So do it in your copy, which is very, very important. If I am discussing anything, once you do in copy, even if in limited presentation, that will be in your mind. Okay. Don't just make this book like the way I am doing. Okay. Don't keep doing in books. In books, you keep it for rough presentation, but fair has to be done. Okay. So this is 18 runs over here. First part is done, and second part is the question here: should Catalyst Limited continue to break up the remaining fixed cost into activity based cost? So they are asking whether this 72,100 be further broken into activity based cost. Answer is to be written and why. But here they have not said that this is having major part as depreciation. So how will you write the answer for this? You will say that first of all, the result here is showing that from 96,000 by breaking into activities we have been able to reduce this cost to 9720. So we have been able to save something. So there might be some benefits in further breaking of cost, but at the same time you should not forget the cost of implementing ABC. So the savings that you will achieve should be able to recover the cost of further breaking the cost. That way you will write. And also I have intentionally marked here single product. If you know, in ABC, single product doesn't give much accuracy. Okay, so you can also write about that. In a single product environment, activity based costing may not be very, very useful. But however, since there has been savings in the cost already visible from the current scenario and the proposed change scenario, we may further go ahead to analyze into activities, but at the same time the cost of analyzing should never be forgotten. So that way you need to write the answer. Guys, here I have completed this discussion. 18,144, 18 runs. Presentation can be in a different way also. Most important is this comment, how to write. Okay, so you can they are writing it very diplomatically. You should read it by yourself. I am just showing you the conclusion. Whatever I am showing, I always recommend that you write only that much, but you must read whatever is given so that you understand studying from me and studying directly from institute material. Okay, so it may also be noted that primary study has resulted in cost savings. From proposed changes there are savings, right? So if the savings in costs are expected to exceed the cost of study and implementing ABC, it may be justified. So this is the crux, that only you should write. Whatever they write is all unnecessary exaggeration. Further, it is pertinent to mention that ABC offers no increase in product costing accuracy for single product setting. So when you have a single product setting or environment, you may not actually get accuracy in product costing. Okay, product costing doesn't give accuracy, but since your study is showing some savings, you may further go ahead in analyzing into different activities. But at the same time, you should never forget about cost of doing anything. So whenever we are doing any kind of recommendation or advice, you should remember that anything new has its cost. So always talk about that. So these some ground rules you will learn in this chapter, and subsequently we'll be using all these ground rules in our future chapters also. So you can guys read this by your own, present this in your copy in better way, and write about this answer in the way I have explained. If required, watch this video part again. Okay, watch this video part again in fast forward and make a note of this and copy. Solve question 2 properly in your copy. Give time to the chapter, else it won't be possible to cover the way we are expecting in fast track. Okay, sometimes while studying in fast track, our expectations keep dwindling into regular course also. That if sir would have made us written everything with himself, then it would have been better, because after class I don't feel like studying. So if that is the case, there will be challenge with the fast track. I always request students in fast track that I will discuss more and more sums so that our horizon gets broader when we discuss together. But if you ask to write everything the way I have done today, workbook question, then it will kill lot of time. So ultimately the fast track will again become a regular course. So we don't want that, right? So I need your cooperation here. I am expecting you to be diligent as well, that after class also you will sit and cut to cut you will complete the homeworks, or whatever we discuss, you will make a note of those in your exercise copy. So you are expected to solve question number, not 3 I will do, 4 you can do by yourself. 4 you can do by yourself, very easy, you should attempt it by yourself in copy. 5 I will do with you, and 6 you must study. I will start my next day with question 6 first. You must study 6 once before our next class, so that the time invested by me will be little lesser. Okay, and 6 is the last question here. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for the extra time that you have given to me. I will owe this, and I will keep a note of this also. I'll try to balance it out someday, but today we actually needed to do this to keep ourselves at par also. And when something is interesting, okay, when you're liking the knowledge, what happens when anything what you like is being happening around us, you know, what happens is we forget 3 basic things around us. One is time. We forget the time, how time passes we don't realize. We forget the place where we are, and we forget the space, in how much space we are sitting. So when we like the things, we forget, oh, I was sitting in just this much space, I was just sitting in this much area, oh, this much time has elapsed, oh, I did not realize, oh, I am at home, or I am at office, wherever I am. If I am liking anything, it happens. I hope you are liking the subject. Thank you so much. Have a good night ahead, and please do practice the questions. Okay. I hope this extra knowledge that I am giving to you are not non-value adding for you. Alright. So should I take your leave? Thank you.